Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Daggers, back with another Dragonheir Silent Gods video. Today is going to be another discussion video. One of my previous videos, I went over seasons, gave some good, some bad. I think there's a lot of positives that can be found in seasons, but I think there's a few things they need to continue to iterate on as they work through, this is a relatively new game, less than, 6 months old or something like that. So I think there's still a lot of opportunities here. And what I want to share today is my top 10 suggestions for what I think should come, or some version of these things should come to Dragonheir within the next couple seasons in order to mitigate some of the issues that I've seen, some of the issues that I've heard about. So we're going to jump right into it. Number one, we're going to be talking about the everyday grind. So Goblin, we all know, we've all run Goblin. It has different ranks, right? There's 3 stages or 3 sections of Goblin. They all have different stages. You can do Goblin 3-3 is the highest. And then within each stage, you have a 1 or 2 or a 3-star ranking. Depending on how quickly you finish those, you can fill up those 3 dots and you can get the best ranking. And once you get the best ranking, you can move on to the next stage. Well, pretty quickly within the season, especially in season 2, within a few weeks, you have a team that can do stage 3-3 of Goblin, and then you're just doing the same content over and over and over again. You give us, some auto battle tickets, and if you buy the $5 monthly pass, you can get 30 auto battle tickets. But honestly, towards the end of the season, that becomes less valuable. But mostly it's about wasting time, right? So here's my suggestion for how we can address the constant grind in Goblin. Once you have 3-star to stage, you can use your auto battle tickets to just skip it, to just auto clear it. Now that only works if you have auto battle tickets available to use, and it only works if you've already 3-starred that stage. So let's say you haven't made it all the way up to the end of Goblin, you're on 3-1, and you can 3-star 3-1, but you can't 3-star 3-2. Right? Well, you could auto clear 3-1 and get lesser rewards, or you could manually run or use the manual auto battle tickets to get more rewards. But if you want to auto clear it, you're going to get less because you haven't built it up enough to 3-star it. So I think that's one way that they can kind of use the auto tickets to get more, the auto battle tickets to get more value, and allow us to kind of skip some of the really, really most repetitive content and get us playing other parts of the game that are more fun. Secondly, number 2, we're going to do the same thing for elemental domains. By few weeks in, mid-season at the latest, but usually 2 or 3 weeks in, you're clearing stage 5 at elemental domains, and you have to farm so many of those shards, of those crystals, to level up your heroes. I mean, each hero all the way to 100 is 65 of the purple, of the highest level. And that's, I think on average I get 5 or 6 a run. So you're talking at least 10, 11 runs for one character, plus all the runs of Goblin you've got to do for one character, right? We need to be able to skip that. So introduce the same mechanic you have in Goblin, different stages. You get 1-star to 3-star depending on your time. Once you've 3-starred one of the stages, you can auto skip it or auto clear it if you have available auto battle tickets, the same way for Goblin. And again, it makes that resource more valuable, and it incentivizes your players to actually get that $5 pack because you've now created a lot more value, because not only can you just auto play a stage that might give you higher rewards, you can straight up skip the stages that you don't really want to play. All right, number 3, we are going to add 5 times speed to Vortex, to the gear and artifact dungeons, like Grave of Venom, Grave of Curse, Grave of Rot, all those. Goblin for if you don't have the auto battle tickets. Domains for the same reason. Otherworld bosses and Chaos Shadow bosses. And again, this is about respecting your player's time. When you get to the end of the season, the amount of time that you're going to spend doing Vortex and all the Otherworld bosses, it gets kind of ridiculous. I really enjoy this game. I have a lot of fun playing this game. I like spending time in this game, but it gets a bit much. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit further on when we talk about Echoes of Clypsitra. But there are there are some changes linked to that will tie into this. Again, that come back to kind of respecting your player's time. So add 5 times speed. I think that's the sweet spot. The 10 times is a bit too much. The 2 times is a bit too slow. 5 times it is. All right, number 4, season 4 refresh. So by the end of season 3, your global audience will have experienced all 3 of the currently available elemental pairings. In order to keep it fresh, you are going to need to switch that up. Whether that involves switching the main character to, Necro, Radiant, and Poison, changing the domains to match, or doing something completely different. Because if you just did that, we would end up with the same pairings. It would just change the main character and change the domains, which would add a little bit of freshness to the content, but not for very long. You need to find a way to pair up the elements that haven't been paired already. So you need to find a way to pair, fire with ice or something like that. Figure that out. I don't have an answer for exactly how to do that. I have some ideas. I don't know that any of them would really work. So put some thought to that one. But I think that in season 4, you need to find a way to refresh the elemental pairing so that we're not just repeating content that we did in season 1. Because people will pull out the same teams, and then you basically put all the pressure on the brand new heroes, and it can limit your content and kind of limit the impact that your new season might have. All right, number 5, PvP changes. Golden Wing match scoring needs to be changed, right? So this is the guild v guild, where you just complete dungeons or the arena or Vortex, and you get points, you get rewards. It's very easy to get unbalanced. It's very easy for the Vortex scores to outweigh everything else. And I think that does a disservice to what I think these PvP or these guild versus guild matches should be for, which is encouraging your guild to work towards a common goal. So for example, you do a very good job with the server towards the end of the season where everyone has to work towards 100%ing to get those buffs on the end game boss. Do something like that on a smaller scale for the guild, so the whole guild has a set of objectives for that week or that however long that event goes on that you need to work towards to fill up that bar and get to 100% to earn the maximum rewards, right? It's not going to be, Vortex can be one of them. It can be set up similar to what you have now, but weighted a little bit differently so that all of them have equal benefit, and you can't just max out points in Vortex with a handful of whales and another alliance that has 50 active players, but they can't max out their Vortex scores. They're losing every single week and not able to get the good rewards really at no fault of their own. So I like setting that or that type of framework that you use for the server at the end of the season. Find a way to kind of mimic that within your guild versus guild on a smaller scale, and have your guilds work together to create good content. The other thing I would throw in there is, you can have it be a race as well. So you race to 100% or to some, target, and whoever gets there first, that guild gets a points bonus, but you don't stop counting at that point in case the other guild wants a chance to try and catch back up and take the lead. They'll have to offset that bonus that the first guild got for getting there first, right? It still creates some competition, but also creates incentive for getting things done quickly and being first, to complete whatever the objective is. All right, number 6, still in the guild versus guild. This is the other one, the Sparkle tournament, where you have, the two, whatever they're called, like the 2 places you have to defend, and then you go up to the 3 years thing and you fight the 3 enemy teams at the very end, and basically the attackers always win. The defenders never win, no matter what teams I've seen on there. We've always been able to break through. It gets kind of stale, but honestly for me, again, it comes back to you're disincentivizing guild play. So what happened in my guild in season 1 a lot was as soon as that event started and the daily reset happened, the first few people in there would use multiple teams. They would clear out the 10 teams, or at least a majority of them they needed to fight. And if I logged in 2 hours after the daily reset, all the outposts were destroyed. There was no battle for me to enjoy. There was no content for me to enjoy on behalf of my guild. It was already done. Now, that's great that I'm getting the rewards for no work, but I wanted to participate in that, and then now I can't. So I think, again, this one needs to be changed, and here's my suggestion for this. I've seen something similar in a different game, but I'm going to tweak it a little bit to apply here. So what I think we need to do is everyone in the alliance needs to create a team, and then you match them up against another alliance. Everyone gets one attack. Everyone has one defense. So it creates a strategy for your strongest players potentially going after the other team's strongest players, or you can give your mid-tier players a chance to take down someone punching above their weight, and then you can have your whales come in and do cleanup. There's a lot of different strategy that you can get if you only have one battle during the event, or maybe you have multiples. Maybe you do it in stages. I don't know. Some version of this where everyone in the guild gets to participate. All 50 people can participate and do one battle. And if this guild wins 35 battles and this guild only wins 32 battles, then the guild with 35 battles wins. They get the highest rewards. But everyone in the alliance or in the guild gets to participate. Right? That's the key for it driving engagement in your game and making these things meaningful, right? And not just a place where people join just to get whatever the rewards are that you get for completing the tasks on a weekly basis, right? That's not a good reason to be in a guild or in an alliance. So I think those two changes would go a long way to making alliances and guilds way more impactful, and I think that needs to be done sooner rather than later, or some versions of that. Number 7. Speed up PvP fights in Arena. Sorry, they just take too long. They get boring. There's a lot of stall teams, especially when you get to higher levels. So a couple of options. Pick any of these. I don't really care. Do something different, but you need to address this, and it needs to be fixed, right? 5 times speed's an option in PvP fights. Shorter timer, maybe 90 seconds instead of 3 minutes. The other one is like stacking damage increase for the attacking team, or a stacking defense down debuff on the defense team. Some way to, the longer it goes on to make the attacker team more likely to win, which means it incentivizes your defense team to actually be built to try and kill the attacker and not just be a stall team. Anyway, there's a lot of things you can do there. Pick one and do it, but Arena needs some work. All right, number 8, Vortex. Build on the sense of progression that you use throughout the Ardreth event or the UTR event. You're incentivizing us to build multiple teams throughout the season. You're rarely changing Vortex. It does change weekly, but at least in season 1, I only saw the same 3 or 4 sets of affixes that just rotated throughout the season. It really only incentivized kind of building a couple of teams. I would like to see you expand on that, right? Do it every 2 or 3 days, or if that's, too much, keep the weekly reset, but create 2 teams that have buffs, right? So that there's more options throughout the whole season to build and showcase different teams in Vortex, right? Balancing is ties into this a little bit, but I don't want to go down that road too far. But there are times when Ice Blast in season 2 or a Wild team in season 1 was better than running a Dauntless team for me, because I didn't have any good legendaries. I didn't get Shelter until later. So I was missing a lot of components to build a good Dauntless team. Anyway, I think we need to have more team availability and team viability in Vortex, and the easiest way to do that is through buffs. So stack more buffs, get a little bit more creative, reset the buffs or refresh them a little bit more frequently, something. But by the end of the season, you've got us building 10 to 15 teams at least. Let us use them, right? Let us showcase different teams a bit more. All right, the number 9, this is a big one, Echoes of Clepsydra. This needs to be spread out more throughout the season. It's too punishing to miss even one battle, towards the end of the season, in at the end game or an Otherworld battle. You can miss thousands of Echoes of Clepsydra. I'll give you a quick example. I missed 500 energy one day. The entire end game event, the entire Otherworld battle, I only missed 500 energy one day. I ended up in 23rd place, less than 1,000 Echoes of Clepsydra out of the top 20. If I had completed just 5 domains, I would have had an extra 8,000 Echoes of Clepsydra. I would have easily been in the top 20. Now, is that the end of the world for me? No, it just goes to illustrate I missed a third of a day, and I then missed out on significant rewards at the end of the season, dropping from what I probably would have been 17th or 18th down to 23rd. And it was only a matter of less than 8,000 Echoes of Clepsydra. Anyway, it's very, very heavily stacked to the end game, and it's very punishing if you actually care about competing, and it's very time consuming. So it's the combination of what I talked about earlier with how grindy those bosses can be, running 15 different fights, 8 minutes each. That's a crazy amount of time, on top of the fact that it's so punishing if you don't do it. I know FOMO is good for mobile games. It's good for gotcha games. That's going a bit far, right? That's pushing a bit too much on your players, I guess, to make sure that they log in every day, they use up every bit of their energy, and they get the max points that they can, because one day, even a couple hundred energy, and you could be in a whole different reward bracket. All right, number 10, need to wrap this up quick, it's going kind of long, is hero rebalancing. So I'm not going to get into specific heroes. I want to give you general guidelines to go back and rebalance some of the existing heroes, and I think this is what you need to do. The biggest issue with the unbalance, in my opinion, between the different elements are debuffs, okay? You need to go back and you need to add in more level 1 debuffs to rares, and you need to add in some more level 2 debuffs into epics. It's not going to break the game. You need to make sure that every element has access to every debuff in some way, in some form or fashion, on some character, without being required to have legendaries. Legendaries need to be continued to design the way you have most of them, where they get multiple debuffs, or they get debuffs plus healing plus this other thing. You stack more and more things on your legendaries so that they're even more valuable, and they can fill 2 roles instead of 1. But your rares and your epics need to still be able to fill some roles. You can't be like, oh, I don't have just this one legendary hero in ice, so I can't fill this part of my team. That's not fun. And I'm not saying you need to give, the rares all the best attack down 2, right? Or something like that. Give them the weaker version, right? You have 2 versions of these debuffs for a reason. Spread them out a little bit more. Be a little bit more liberal with at least the level 1, tier 1 debuffs, and add them into more characters so that they're more available in content. Because I'm telling you, if I had more, like right now I'm struggling on my ice team because I don't have anyone on their ultimate with attack down. Not even attack down 1 unless I want to build Gulal, and I don't actually want to for the fights that I'm trying to do. But even if I had someone that had an attack down 1 on their ultimate that I could time, that was an epic hero in ice, I would put them in my team. It would add a lot to Vortex. That 25% damage reduction, I know it's not as good as the 50, but it's still going to let me go another couple rotations against the boss, and it's going to have an impact to my gameplay that's beneficial, but not as much as having those really, really good characters, right? And I think you do, as developers, a really, really good job of making sure that you can build teams with epics, and you can build teams with rares, and you can use them at end game, and they're still viable. And if you take this one last step, take a few of the epics and rares, you've seen the feedback, you know the usages, you know the rankings, some of the ones that are less used, add debuffs to them. The debuffs that element is missing, even at level 1, the smaller version, that's how you make those characters at least useful, and people aren't disappointed to get them in their account. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. This is almost a 20-minute video. If you're still here, I love you guys. I appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. Hopefully this will generate some more conversation within the community, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.